Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at this position. It is white to move and win, so feel free to pause the video for a while to try to figure out the answer on your own. Okay, so now you might be, thinking about these two pawns because they are the problem. The king is not, the king cannot be checkmated. So the pawns are going to be the problem. How are you going to deal with them? So for example, if you decided to just take this pawn on g7, the problem with that is going to be a draw because he can push h4 and you cannot even stop this pawn. You can play a rook to a3, but then he can play king to g2 and then he's going to try to push the pawn and we have to sacrifice the rook for the pawn in order, not allow him to have a queen, but that's not going to be winning. And if you want to really test it out, after a check, king can move up, uh, king moves here, push. At the end, white cannot stop this pawn from promoting unless by sacrifice. So that doesn't work. We cannot take this pawn. Now you might say, okay, well there is probably rook to a5. We're trying to take this pawn that is a threat. Well, for example, he can play g6. He can, hold on for a while. We cannot play this check on g5 because now it might actually be winning for white if black made a blunder. But the best move in this position is to play king to f2 here. And after we take this pawn, he's going to push. If we want to try to stop it, he's going to play king to g3 to defend it. And after a check, he's going to go the exact same square, and that's going to be a draw because of repeated moves. Okay, so it's not king takes, it's not rook to a5. Even if we played, for example, rook to a5, can he just push? Well, black can just push because after this check, king to f2, and after he takes with the rook or with the king, it doesn't matter. Pawn push, and we reach the exact same position. So it's not that. So what do we do here? And probably you thought about rook to a7, trying to give a check and then go back, but that's too slow because of h4, rook takes, king to f2, and the exact same thing happens. So the first move is we have to play king to h7. We don't take on. We move the king. We're trying to get closer. Now you might say, well, what happens if he, first of all, he pushed the pawn to g5? Then we can play king to g6. He pushes this one. We take this pawn. He pushes, and I might say, okay, how are we even stopping this pawn? Well, we actually don't. We don't stop it. We play king to g4, allow another push, and then we play king to g3. Because after he promotes to a queen, he doesn't have any checks, and rook to a1 is checkmate. Okay, but you might say, well, he can promote to a knight. Well, that's fine. But then we can just play king to f3, and as you can see, the king, if the king went here, that's checkmate in one, and if the knight moved there, well, we can just take it. It's going to be checkmate as well. And this is a winning endgame, of course. So pushing this pawn is not going to help. So maybe he's going to think, okay, this pawn is a little bit faster, so we're going to play h4. Now, we don't take the pawn. We don't take the pawn. He's going to play this. We need to get the king closer to threaten the checkmate. So we play king to g6. He pushes the pawn. We play king to g5. He pushes the pawn again. And after king to g4, you might say, well, hold on a little bit. Isn't that just a queen here? Well, the exact same move we play as earlier. We don't play a check. That's a complete draw because the king's going to move and we have to sacrifice the rook for the queen. Instead, we just play king to g3. He does not have this check. He does not have this check because of our rook. And he has no other check possible. And it doesn't seem very obvious how he's going to stop rook to a1 check. Only if the queen, somehow managed to go there, probably. But there's a pawn in the way. So here he can move the queen anywhere else, but it's not going to help because of a rook a1 check. He has to sacrifice the queen, and after takes, it's going to be also a checkmate. So let's see if there's any kind of other variations. This is the only move that actually wins. Okay, moving the rook anywhere else is going to lead to a draw. King to h7 is the only move that wins because we want to get the king closer because the king is in the perfect position to get checkmated. Because when our king goes to g3, we hold these three squares. So it doesn't matter how many pawn moves he actually have, even if he made a queen, it's still going to be possible for us to get the checkmate on a1 and win the game. Hopefully you like this short puzzle, and I'll see you again with another one.